Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right, lots to get to today. Well, first, we're going to talk about some basketball because we have a commitment right here from the U of A basketball program, and you're going to be seeing more like that. Filip Borovicanin. And again, I have not gone through the proper pronunciations, but I would assume that that's somewhere in there where it should be. So, first and foremost, this is going to be a player who will add some depth immediately. He's about 6'8". He's got guard skills, which is always a plus when you're talking about bringing in somebody that you would like to be able to play immediately. He's also about 6'8", and that gives him a little bit of position flexibility right there, mainly because he's played in the professional game. Now, again, you got to remember, his club team. You've got to remember, though, with his club team, it's a little bit different there. This isn't the highest level of club that you can play, but it's certainly somewhere that's up there. And again, about 6'8", can do a lot of different things on the court. Tommy Lloyd is going to make a killing in this market. Now, he's going to hit the transfer market. He's going to hit the national, obviously, recruiting field, because that's the way that you can get some of the best players. I don't think that there's any surprise about that. Now, the people that are worried saying, well, is he just going to basically ignore the domestic side of things? No, he's not going to do that, because all you have to do is look at Kylan Boswell and KJ Lewis and say, all right, well, those are two domestic players right there, and they're both 5-star type guys. So he's going to get those type of players, but when you have the kind of recruiting reputation, when you have the kind of recruiting chops that Tommy Lloyd does, why in the world wouldn't you utilize them? Think about it. This is a guy that built that Gonzaga program along with Mark Few, obviously, as the head coach, Munson as well. You built that off a heavy foreign influence. Now, again, there was a lot of local guys for sure, no doubt about it. But you look across there, you got your Hachimuras, you got your Sabonises, you've got your Killian Tillys, I can just keep going on and on and on and on down the list. You've got a ton of different guys there at Gonzaga, and our good friend John Schuster has always mentioned that too, that, it's always been a nice blend. So if you're Tommy Lloyd, you're coming into Arizona, and I've got all these connections. I've also got Jack Murphy right there, who is one of the better international recruiters in the country with a ton of connections as well. Why wouldn't I utilize those? It makes perfect sense too, and I think you're going to see more of it. Now, what exactly does Borovicanin bring? He's going to bring depth. I would be highly surprised if he ends up starting this year, and quite frankly, I'd be a little surprised if he starts next year. I think he's going to be a rotational type player that will take some time. And once he gets in there, I think that he will probably be a starter as an upperclassman, assuming that he takes his time and everything pans out the way that it should. But listen, Tommy Lloyd knows what he's doing right here. This is a kid that had interest from Xavier, Texas Tech, the G League. And generally, when you get a European kid like this or from over there, this is a spot where his recruitment would have taken off had he waited around a little bit longer. Had he waited around a little bit longer to be able to make that, to play out that recruitment. But Tommy Lloyd is also smarter than me, and he knows that if I know that, there's probably a good sign that there's some other people that know that as well. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that right there? And again, this isn't somebody that they're just grasping at straws at. I can guarantee you that. This is a player that they had prioritized after looking at him. They're not taking some guy just to be roster filler right now. Lloyd, again, knows what he's doing right here. So does Jack Murphy. It's a nice little addition to the team. But honestly, you're probably going to see a lot more coming from there. And we will talk about that in just a second. But let's also talk about BetOnline.sportsbook. Okay. BetOnline Sportsbook is where you want to go to get everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, from props to lines to bets. This is the best time to be doing it because, again, you are in the heart of the sports season. Why not go there and get onto BetOnline Sportsbook, check everything out. You've got NBA playoffs, you got baseball going on. This is the time to get in, get your feet wet a little bit because you got football right around the corner. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. All right, now, you've already got the commitment, obviously, from Borovicanin. Now, you're probably going to be getting another commitment here next month. Not going to tell you the name, but the guy's very, very good. He would probably be a star. He will probably be a starter. And I think that you're going to continue to see this. You're going to see a little bit of a how do you put it? You're going to have a little bit of a conglomeration of domestic and foreign players. And I think that'll also bring a little bit more of a dynamic feel to it because the international game is obviously a little bit different than the high school game. And you don't have to look any further than Gonzaga and the empire that they've built there over the last 15 to 20 years to see that I think that Tommy Lloyd probably is going to do something like that. I think what also helps Tommy Lloyd is that Arizona, as crazy as this is to say, because again, Gonzaga is one of the top 5-6 programs in all college basketball right now. But Arizona at its apex is just an easier school to recruit to. You look at it, and by its apex, I mean Lute Olson from about 88 to 2003 was one of the top 5 programs in the country, whether you're looking at Final Fours, championships, wins, pros, whatever you want to look at it, Arizona was right there. And Sean Miller never got Arizona to a Final Four, but he recruited at a top 3 level, and that's something I think that's impossible to overstate. And I think Tommy Lloyd, I don't know that he'll recruit at a Sean Miller type level, but he's going to be far pickier with who he gets. So I think people need to keep that in mind. This isn't going to be a guy that's going to be offering 25 different players. He's going to take his time as to who he wants to get. And so far, so well. You know, obviously a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he couldn't get Ty Washington or he couldn't get Shaedon Sharpe or, anybody like that. Well, okay. He's been on the ground now. Arizona basketball has won. He's been able to show that he's got a product out there that people would like to play for. You got 2 5-star commitments from juniors, probably going to stay in that class. And then you've got a foreigner right now. You're going to have another one coming, or you'll probably have another one, maybe 2 coming in there, which I think will nicely balance out that roster. And we'll talk about that balancing out of that roster there in just a second there. All right, so let's look at it now. You've got at the point guard, you've got Kirk Risa. We already know what he can do. You've got Pella Larson, and you got I'm assuming Dalen Terry's coming back. So that's a good perimeter, but the only really dynamic player right there is Dalen Terry. So you'd like to be able to add a little bit in that regard, and I think Tommy Lloyd's going to certainly be able to do that. Now, on the front court, then Julius Tabelis is back. Obviously, we know that Christian Coloco is gone. Umar Ballo then means more minutes for him, and you know what? We're all big fans of Umar Ballo around here. So. But they're probably going to be bringing in some reinforcements as well. And by reinforcements, I mean a guy that you just keep an eye on. Could be a 1-and-done, a 2-and-done. But Tommy Lloyd is far from done recruiting. And when I mean that he's far from done recruiting, this is going to be an ongoing process. The roster you see right now is not going to be the roster you're going to have in 3 months. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to have multiple contributors there that are going to be able to make a big-time difference. So again, keep that in mind when you're looking at this roster, when you're managing expectations, because Arizona basketball, again, isn't going anywhere. It's a different style. A lot of people, I think, get concerned about, well, Tommy Lloyd, he's not offering a lot of kids. What's the deal right there? Again, Sean Miller was able to recruit at an A+ level. He ended up getting in trouble, but he was able to recruit at an A+ level. You can recruit and get the players you want, maybe not at that same, realm, but players that can be just as good and players that fit into your system. And I think that you're going to see that with Tommy Lloyd. I think that Tommy Lloyd is going to be able to show you that Arizona basketball under him is going to have a little bit of a different feel. We're going to describe that and everything that means on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Locked On